Hey guys, so I did a workshop today explaining JavaScript concepts in 1 hour, and we built this rock paper scissors game. So I thought I'll like make another recording, and so that will be helpful for more people. Okay, so let's look at the game that we'll be building. So just some images are coming, but if we click on rock, so we selected rock, computer chose paper, and as you know, paper wins against rock. So we didn't get any point out of the one game. If I click on paper, paper wins against stone. So I got 1 point. Scissor don't win, doesn't win. I lost again, again. And finally, when paper game, I won. So this is how the game works. And yeah, and through building this game, we'll be learning important JavaScript concepts in 1 hour. Cool. So I have pushed everything. Like the final code is on GitHub, so you can go to the master branch and check the script. And so yeah, you can check the script. But for our workshop, like what we'll do is we'll be on the stage 0, and here I have some HTML and CSS, but the script JS is just has a console log. So we'll be building from this. Cool. Okay, so let's see our code editor. So we just have a console log, and then we have some code in HTML. So this is the project structure. So I have index.html, a script.js, and a style CSS file. In index.html, I am including the style CSS file, and at the bottom, I'm including the script.js. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the CSS that much for this video because we are just talking about JavaScript. Yeah. So in the HTML, the important thing to note is that there are two sections. One is player human and one is player CPU. So for human, we are showing 3 images, rock, paper, scissors, and then there are 3 buttons to choose between, like 3 buttons for rock, paper, scissors each. And for CPU, we are showing the rock, paper, scissors image. And important thing is there is the picked class. So only the image which has this picked class will be shown to user. Other images will be display none. Similarly for CPU. So this is HTML, and so when we have the HTML file, we can say script and paths to the script.js file. And here I can write anything I want. So I have just written a console log. Console log is the equivalent of system.out.print in Java and printf in C. So that's a console log in JavaScript. Let's open this file. So to open it, I'll go to my file manager and I'll double click it, and it will open in my browser. Close this. Cool. So as you can see, here I'm seeing the image of rock and here I'm seeing the image of paper. That's because if I go to my inspector, I can see that the rock image has the picked class, and because of that, that item has display none, and only the picked one has display block. Whereas here I have on the paper image, I have the picked class. That's why these are shown. So with that out of the way, we can look at the JavaScript part. As you can see, so there's the second tab called console. Here you can see whatever console logs you write. This page doesn't do anything. If I click on the buttons, they do nothing. No images is being changed, and the score is not being updated. So why is that? That is because this page doesn't have the necessary JavaScript to do those things. And that's the purpose of JavaScript. With HTML, you can render these images, the buttons. With CSS, you can style them to look a certain way. But only with JS can you add these interactive things, like these custom interactions where clicking on rock changes the image. And so we need to write a JavaScript code to add behavior to our website, to add interactivity to our site. Okay, let's look at the game logic now. So if we get in layman terms, if we think how we'll be building this game, some things are pretty clear. That somehow we need to know which button was clicked. Based on that, we'll know the user choice. Somehow randomly we need to get computer choice. Then we need to calculate who won. If user picked rock and computer picked scissors, then user win. And so there are specific conditions in which the user will win. So we need to figure that out. And once we know that information, we have to show the picked choices here. So if user picked rock, there should be rock image. If they picked paper, the paper image should be here. And if CPU chose scissors, there should be scissors image here. And when we know that was user won or not, we have to update these values from 00 to something which we will find out. So that is how I'll be thinking of this in the layman terms. So to add these features, we'll need to know certain JavaScript concepts. And so let's take a look at all these JavaScript concepts. So I have already told you about what console log does. So whatever you put it here, it can show in the console tab, and it does not have to be one argument. You can have as many arguments as you want, and it can have numbers, arrays, booleans, or anything, and you can have multiple of these. So here it could be And if I refresh page, you can see that I'm seeing hello, 2 array false, and similarly in the second line I'm seeing array of 2 3 4. So this is the console log. Next we'll talk about variables. So there are 2 ways to define variables in JavaScript. One is with let. So you say let user wins equals to 0. And now if I console log this, you will see 0. But I can reassign this to some other value. So I can say user wins equals to 100. And now if I print console log here, you see it is showing 100. And not only that, we can increment these values. So I can say user wins plus equals to 1, and that will print 101. You can see it is showing 101. So this is let, when you can assign a value, but you can change it, and you are not restricted to just numbers. So what you can do is, like, user wins initially was 0, then you made 100 and then 101. Now user wins can be an array as well. So it's in JavaScript, it is not like a variable has to be of the same data type for always. You can change the values, but it is not recommended. If a variable is an array, you should keep it an array, because otherwise your application will become buggy. So yeah, so as you can see, it is working fine. And so this is variables in JavaScript. Next is const. So here, like as I told you, that you can assign a value and then you can reassign values. But with const, you can declare a value. So say, like, this website name is Facebook, and you can console log it. So basically you can access that value anywhere and you see Facebook, but you cannot reassign the value. I cannot say that the value of name will be Twitter, and if I do it, it will say error, because you cannot assign a new value to const. So when is this one useful? It is useful when you know the value is not going to change. For example, if you are on facebook.com and they want to show that Facebook text, they know this website is Facebook, so this text is never going to change. So why not keep it in a const? So the things you know that will not change in your app.js file, you should keep in const. The things that will be reassigned, you should keep in let. And so there are some catches and edge cases in this const definition that I gave you. But for beginners, it is just fine. Cool. So now we know like basics of variables. So I covered array, like I just covered numbers, strings, and you can also have array. So if I remove this, I can say like const choices equals to array. So you can define any values in this array. So you can say rock, paper, scissors, and so yeah, and you can console log this, and you see the array. You can get the length of the array from .length, and so on. Similarly, you can also push items to this array. So arrays in JavaScript are dynamic, so you can change array items. So you can say like here it is one more item, and now if I like console of choices in choices.length, you see that see there's array of 4 items now, and there is also 4 is also printed, which is the length. So yeah, this is like concept. And as you see, as you are seeing that this was an array with a const, but I was still able to add items to it. So you can modify the content of this array. So you can say that the array can have more items, but you can't do choices equals to, you can't do this. If you do this, it will error. But you can change items in the array, and you can also do choices 0 equals to and now if I do this, it will say lizard, paper, scissors, fork. Yeah, so you can change internal items, but you can't reassign the array itself. So that's how arrays work in JavaScript. Next we have booleans. So say a boolean is user winner, and I can say that it is true. So if I print it, you can see that it is saying true. And similarly, it could be like I can say false, and it will be false. So booleans are like only true, either true or false. And so you what another thing that can happen is you can say 2 equal to, and now you can see that 2 equal to is true, and I'm using double equals to here. There is also triple equals to in JavaScript, but we will not get into that in this video. So that is booleans. Now the advantage of booleans is that you can use those inside if conditions. So what is if? There is two things, if and else, and these if and else things let you make decisions in your JavaScript. Let's say building like Instagram, and Instagram you what happens is that only the people who follow you can see your profile, right? So when somebody opens your page, the app has to decide should they show your images to the person or not. So that logic will happen inside an if block, and let's see them in action. So if I have to write if, here I have to write some condition, and so here I can just say like if false, and what happens is whatever the condition part here is, if that is true, only then this will run. So true, and inside else I can say if this is false, then run this. So as you know that inside if we pass false, so obviously this condition will not run, and the second one will execute, and we can see it here. So when false, so and instead of directly writing false, I can say if is user winner, then do this, and again is user winner is false, so that's why it is saying when false. But if I change the value of this to true, you'll see that the if case worked. So that is if and else. Next we'll come to functions. Okay, so what are functions? Functions are basically reusable blocks for your JavaScript application. So if you have some custom logic, say multiply by 5, divide by 3, and then exponent it, and so on, instead of doing it for multiple values, like putting that code here, like instead of saying that a into b plus c and into d, you can and doing this for ABCD, then doing it for PQR, would get like hectic. So what you can do is actually make a function, and you can say function solve, and you can say A, B, C, D, and this function will return this code. Now you can call this function, say solve, for different values. So I can get the result in, say, a variable result result1, and I say solve for the ABCD values should be 3, 4, 2, 5, 7. So what will happen is this solve function will get called. The 3 will be assigned to A, 2 will be assigned to B, 5 will be assigned to C, and 7 will be assigned to D. Then this operation will happen. So 3 into 2 plus 5 into 7. Whatever the result is, this return will give that value. So it will, what will happen is from this return, we'll jump to this line. And so the result one will get whatever the result of this is. So let's console log result one. And as you can see, it is 41. And now I can use it for different values. I can say console log solve for 100, 200, whatever this value is, and it will give me result. So I don't have to put this complicated code everywhere. I can write it once and then reuse it multiple times. So that is a great feature in JavaScript, functions. And another super powerful feature of JavaScript is that functions are first-class things in JavaScript. So in C, you can pass values as argument to functions, but you can't pass a function to a function. But in JavaScript, you can. Watch me. So I can have a function, say something. And what it can do is it takes a name, and it takes a function, and say it does a console log name, and it calls the function with that name. So here what I can do is say function greet. It takes a name and it console logs hello name. So there are two functions. There's a greet function and there's a something function. And strangely, something function can take fn argument, and then the fn argument we are calling it with whatever the thing we are getting. Now what I can do is I can say something and pass my name Aditya, and I can pass the greet function here. So what will happen is that something will be called, name will become Aditya, the function will become greet, and so we first log console.log Aditya. Then since name this is fn equals to greet, so greet function will get called because of this, and we are passing name there, so greet function will get called, name will be Aditya, and it will say console log hello Aditya. So this is like very powerful feature of JavaScript where you can pass function to a function. And now that we have cleared this, interestingly, what we can do is say you have array, and so the array could be like names, and it has some names like Stark, and you want to say hello Stark, hello Banner, hello Roger. So instead of doing a for, like in a for loop, you say let I equals to 0, let n less than I is less than array length, and I plus plus, then do strange things. You can do names dot for each, and remember this greet function we made. So I can say in the for each, call this greet function. So here what happens is that this for each, what it does is it knows the names array. So for each item of this names array, it will call the greet function, and to this name argument, it is one by one, it will pass the array items. So first it will call greet with the string Stark, second time it will call with Banner, and third time with Roger. And every time greet function gets called, we get hello and the name. So this is like a for each, which you will be using quite a lot, and we'll be using in our project. Next thing is that, so I had a function made in advance, and if I just remove all this, actually let's keep the greet function. And instead of defining it like beforehand, we can instead do names dot for each, and here itself I can have a function, and I don't need to give it a name, and I can just say like you'll get a name, and you can do console log hello name, and again it will work. So as you can see, this was by the first one, and this is by our second one. And so this is like another superpower in JavaScript. You don't have to define your function beforehand. We have covered for loops, we have covered functions, and we have covered arrays. Next, we'll talk about some browser specific stuff. So these, whatever I showed you so far, those are JavaScript syntax and like JavaScript stuff. But when this JavaScript runs in browsers, the browsers add some extra functionality in your JavaScript, and so you can use those things in your JavaScript as well. And the most important thing is DOM. DOM stands for Document Object Model. Basically, what happens is that in your HTML, when you have this HTML, you want to change this HTML from your JavaScript, right? You want to change this value from there. So there should be a way for the JavaScript to tell the browser that this content should change, and that intermediate thing is called DOM. And so in what happens is, for each HTML element, you can get a JavaScript object of it in your you can get it in JavaScript, and then you can read properties of that HTML element. So you can get whatever the content of it is, whatever classes that element has, you can read those in JavaScript, and you can change those as well. And when we change this stuff, the text, the classes, that is called DOM manipulation. Yeah, and that is like a very crucial part of web development whenever you're building websites, and that's what we'll take care of it now. Okay, so when working with DOM, the most important thing you'll be using is called document.querySelector. So what I can say is that const first button, and I can say document.querySelector, and here I can pass any string which is a valid CSS rule. Is it called a rule or what? Yeah. So like if I want to get the first button, I can just say button, and it will give me first button. So, and as you can see, when I hover on it, it is highlighting the rock button. So here, instead of button, if I say dot item, it will give me the image, because the image has this class item, and you know, CSS, in CSS, when you have to target the item class, you will say dot item. For IDs, it would be hash, and so on. So that's a very handy tool. So you can use your CSS selectors. Yeah, selectors are right. So you can use your CSS selectors to target buttons. Now the important thing with query selector is that it will just give you the first matching element. So as you know that the item, there are two images which have the class item, but it just gives the first one. If you use document.querySelector all, if I just directly console log it, if I do query selector all, that will actually give me an array where I'll get all the images. So one is visible, other two are not visible, and then this paper one is visible. So, and this array is actually not an array, it's a node list, which is an array-like structure, but let's not get into details. It supports most of whatever we work in arrays. So the length, the for each, it will work there. Yeah, so now we know query selector all. The only thing remaining is to understand event listeners. So what we want is that when we click on the rock button, there should some like JavaScript should do something. So what you can do is you can say document.query selector, and here you can specify the button. So for right now, I'll just say button, and I can say add event listener, and here I can say click because I just want to listen on the click event, and here I can say function, and now I'll just say console log. If I refresh, and let me just remove all this. If I click on drop, you can see that clicked is getting logged 4 times because I clicked 4 times. But if I click on paper, nothing happens. Clicking on scissors, nothing happens. So that is because query selector just gave us the first element. So the click event listener got applied on the first button. So instead, like there is one thing that there's a best practice that we shouldn't use, like not apply JavaScript on that button tag, because there could be 100 of buttons. And if you add one button before this rock button, your website will break. So instead, you give specific class names to your buttons, and like every DOM node which you query select. So here what I'll do is that I have the rock button. I'll say JS BTN rock, and so I'm prefixing the selector with JS, because that way when somebody reads this code, they'll know, okay, this class is getting used in JavaScript, so I should not remove it without looking at the JavaScript. If I just use this item BTN class, they might think, okay, this is just used in the CSS, and they remove the CSS file, and then your JavaScript will break. So whenever you query select a DOM node in your JavaScript, make sure that you use these classes which has the prefix of JS. That's a best practice. And here I'll also add these for our paper and for our scissors. So JS BTN scissors. Now I can, instead of button, I can say dot JS BTN rock, and here I can say click rock. So obviously only the rock one will work, so it is saying click rock. But now I can say that for JS BTN paper, say clicked paper, and for scissors, say clicked scissors. And here now what happens, if I click rock, it says clicked rock. If I click paper, it says paper, and if I say scissors, it says scissors. Okay, so now we are in the position of discussing the game logic in terms of JavaScript. Okay, so what we want is that when these buttons are getting clicked, we get to know the user choice, right? That when button paper is clicked, so the user choice is paper. So we'll call a function called newMove, and we'll tell it that the user choice is whatever the button got selected. Then that function will somehow generate a random choice for the computer. So out of rock, paper, scissors, we'll generate a choice for the CPU. So it would be either rock or paper or scissors. And then once we know that, we'll compute like who won. So did the user win or the computer win? Based on that, we will have to update the text here, and we'll also have to change the images to the ones user selected. So if user clicked on paper, here the paper image should show, and if randomly we chose that here computer chose scissors, then here scissors image should come. So that's what you have to build in JavaScript. And you might have guessed, so that to change the images, we'll simply remove the pig class from this paper and add that pig class from scissors, assuming that computer chose scissors. Similarly, here we'll remove the pig class from stone and add the pig class to paper. So let's get to work. I'll make a new function, say function newMove, and here I'll get a user choice as an argument, and let's just console log it. And now instead of doing a console log here, what I can say is that call this newMove function and just pass it the string like rock, paper, or scissors. And now what happens is if I click on paper, this function gets the user choice paper. Now I'll make a separate function to determine computer choice. So I'll say get computer choice, and now it has to return a choice. Let's say that there's an array const choices, and it has string rock, paper, scissors. So I say that return choices 2, so it will be scissors. And now to call this function, so I know the user choice, I say const computer choice just to get computer choice, and now I can log both. So if I now do this, you'll see that if I click on rock, it is saying rock, scissors. If I click on paper, it is saying paper, scissors. If I click on scissors, it is saying scissors, scissors. Now because so right now we hard coded the value to be scissors, but that's not what we want. What we want is this should be random. So let's say there's an x, something like variable x. So and we return that x, choices x. So the value of this x should be 0 or 1 or 2, and this should be random. So sometimes it should pick 0, sometimes 1, or sometimes 2. So there's a pretty standard way to do this in JavaScript, and let's learn it through our console. So I'll just remove this, and I'll say that random num equals to 2, and here I can say choices random num. So right now it is also hard coded, but now let's look at the logic. So first thing is this math.random function. It gives us a value between 0 and 1. So 0 is inclusive, 1 is exclusive. So math.random can give us a value 0, 0 point something, the 1 point, but it can never be 1. So it would be 0.99999, but it will never be 1. So interestingly, if I do math.random into 3, because we have 3 choices, rock, paper, scissors, and if I do it, and let me just show you multiple times. So what will happen is that this value math.random into 3, it could be 0, it could be 0 point something, it could be 2 point something, but it can never be 3 because math.random is never 1. So 1 into 3, 3. So it can never be 3. So it will always be less than 3. So now we know that the values we are getting from that math.random would be something like 0 or 1 point something or 2 point something, or let's say 0 point something. So if we just remove this decimal part from this, so now what the values we'll be getting is 1, 2, 0, right? So let's just drop this decimal part. How can you do that? For that, there is a function called math.floor, and if you pass it a decimal, it will just give you that first part. So here it is getting 2. If I do 0, it will say 0. If I do 1, it says 1. And like if it has 100, so it will just say 100. So now let's combine these two. So what I'll do is I'll say math.floor, and the value should be math.random into 3, because there are 3 choices. And even better, I can say choices.length. So if we add a new category, like if a new choice, we don't have to update this code. And now I can, because the random num will be a value 0, 1 or 2, I can say choices 0, either choices 0, either choices 1, or either choices 2. So that way we get a random computer choice. Let's just test it. So I picked rock, computer chose paper. I chose scissors, computer again chose paper. This time computer chose scissors. Yeah, so we can see that computer is random, so it is not picking a fixed value. So now we know computer choice. Now it's time to decide who won. So let's make another function. Function check user winner. So what this function will do is it will take user choice and the computer choice, and it will return true only if user wins. So it will return false if draw or user lost. So in all the cases, it will return false. Only when user wins, it will return true. So let's implement this. So we know that if user choice is rock and computer choice is scissors, then we win. So I can return true. If user choice is scissors and computer choice is paper, then also we win. So I can again return true. And if user choice is paper and computer choice is rock, then also we win. So I can again say return true. And in all other cases, we say return false. So what happened here is that the way you can read it is this. So if user choice is rock and computer choice is this, so when both of these conditions are true, then we'll enter this if block. And if we enter this if block, we'll see a return. So, and this true. So immediately after this line, instead of going below, it will instead directly jump back to where it was called. So let's say if it was called here, so const is user winner. So what happens is if both these situations satisfy, then here I'll say return true, and it will directly jump to this line. But if this situation does not satisfy, say user choice was rock but computer choice was paper, then we will not enter this situation and we will jump to next line. So now if the second line does satisfy the situation, then again we'll jump to return true and to the caller. Similarly for paper rock. But if we don't enter any of these lines, then what will happen is we'll enter this line and we'll return false. So we know that only in these 3 cases can the user win. On all the other cases, either the user will draw or they'll lose. So we can return false for all those cases. This pattern is called early return, and you can learn more about it. Okay, so now this logic is there, and we know that is user winner will get the value. So let's console log this. So if I say rock, so rock wins against paper. No, it doesn't. So we return false because user lost. If I again click rock, again computer chose paper. This time I picked rock, computer picked scissors, so I won. So it is true. And for other situation, you can see that it is working fine. For scissors, etc., it is returning false. Now let's make two variables. Let's make a variable which will record how many wins did user get. So we can have actually two variables. One is let user wins. Let me just check my code so that we know that I'm using the same variables. Cool. So I have user wins, and I have let num moves. So what I'll do is that every time new move function gets called, I'll increase the value of num moves by 1, but only when user winner is true, then only I'll increase the user wins. Yeah. So now I can console log that. So if I say rock, so rock lost against paper, so one game went by and I didn't win. For paper, I won against rock, so I won one game out of 2. So this is working. Now let's update it in the screen. So user doesn't care about what is in the console. They care about what they see in the screen. So we have to change that. Again, we'll need the use of DOM. So I'll add a for this. So let's work on this scores first. So the class name for that I used was JS user score and JS total moves. So what I want to do is that I'll query select that element. So query select .js user score, and to update the text of it, I can say .text content, and I can say user wins. And for total score, it's total score, right? Total moves, I can say the text content is num moves, and let's see it in action. So if I click rock, I've lost, I didn't win against rock, so 0 out of 1 games. I pick scissors against paper, I won, so it is saying user won 1 out of 2 games. So this is how we basically change the text of our website. So say there is a like button, and if you're building Instagram and there's a like button, so every time the user clicks that button, you will do some API stuff, but you'll also increase the value of it by 1. So if there were 20 likes, it will now say 21 likes, and this is how you can do it. Okay, so let's just remove this. Now the only thing left is that we need to update the images here. So when they click rock, it should stay rock, but if they click paper, now there should be paper image. So for that, we need to manipulate classes. We need to add the class like a picked class on the whatever they chose. So let me show you for paper. Like suppose they click on paper. So what I can do is I can say query selector, and I need a class. So for each of these 3 images, I say JS item user rock. Here I say JS item user paper. Here I say JS item user scissors. Now suppose I just want to show the paper one, so I say JS item user paper dot class list dot add, and I just add a pig class to that. Now I click on paper, and now I'm seeing both of these images. That is because I didn't remove the pig class from the rock, so I have to remove that as well. So a simple way to do it is that I query select, and instead I should query select all the elements which has pig class, because there are 2 DOM nodes with pig class. One is the rock and this side the CPU side. So I'll pick both of the pig class, and I can say for each there's a function, take the item from it, and from that item you remove the class. So class list dot remove pigged, and now here now if I see that if I click paper, so computer side also disappeared. So let's add one for computer as well. So I say CPU paper. Instead for CPU, let's do scissors, and I need to add this thing to there as well. So these are for the CPU. So I say JS item CPU rock paper and scissors. So here I'm saying JS item CPU scissors. So add a class pegged to the scissors on the CPU side. So now if I click paper, now I'm seeing paper on the CPU user side and scissors on the computer side. Yeah, so now like the last thing we need to do is that instead of hard coding these, we have to add a class to the node which actually user clicked on. So this is how you can do. I'll say there's a variable user query, and the value of it is JS item user, and so I'll add, so this is string concatenation, I'll say user choice, and instead of this string I can just say user query, because if user choice is rock, it will be .js item user hyphen rock. For paper it will be .js hyphen item hyphen user hyphen paper. And similarly I can do for computer, so I can say computer, and this should be CPU. And now instead of hard coding for scissors, here I can say computer query. And now moment of truth. So I picked scissors. Apparently computer chose paper, so nothing happened there, and we won because we are scissors against paper. We won. Again the same thing happened, and okay, that was just luck that I won 3 out of 3. Now when I picked scissors, computer chose rock, and so I lost. I took paper. I won against rock. Paper moves against scissors, and yeah, I'm having too much fun with this game now. So yeah, like we have made the entire app. Like we have written everything in the JavaScript, and it's still like for 1 hour it is still 3 minutes left. So we have completed it like in time, and I can say that probably 40% JavaScript is just this, like interact, adding event listener to buttons, taking user input, and then changing these classes, showing, hiding stuff, and so these are the most important things. And if you want to learn other advanced concepts, you can go to GitHub IT Aditya 0 to job ready, and here I have like told all the important concepts you need. So today we covered event handling and click, selecting DOM nodes, and other basic DOM manipulation. Other things that you can learn are AJAX request and fetch API, promises, async await, etc. And if you want a video on those topics, comment that down, and I'll definitely make a video on those topics. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel.